For anyone that is, again, we still got a few people that are absent. So for number 9, we're looking at this. This one's pretty straightforward. There's no negatives right now, so it's a little bit easier than some of the ones we finished with. We're looking for anything that we can simplify, cancel, anything like that. See if we can do it. There it goes. So let's start with the numbers out in front. We've got a 4 down at the bottom. Caitlin, is that the only constant number? Is there anything up on top that's not like just not an exponent?
Is there a 1?
Yep, you can put a 1 there. So if I just have 1 over 4, does that simplify? Anybody? So you've got 1 over 4. Can I do anything with that?
I apologize. By chance, do you have extra copies of the practice test?
I have 1.
I need one if you don't mind.
Yep.
Some of this colors.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So that 1 over 4, this does not simplify, right? There's no numbers to cancel out, nothing we can do with it. So we can leave that. We know it's going to be 1 over 4. And now we can concentrate on the variables. For the x's, Alondra, do we have more than one x? Yeah, we've got x's on the top and the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got 2 ways that we can simplify this. You can either cross them out, or you can do subtraction, right? If I did subtraction, I could do x to the first power minus x to the second power, or 1 minus 2.
How did you get 1?
So there's the question, how do we get 1, right? If there's 1 x up here,
Yeah, I got it.
even if it doesn't have a 1, you can put that 1 there. Do. I think I've still got some.
Jesus.
Who hurt you?
So is everybody clear that if I do this, x to the 1 minus 2, that reduces, right? 1 minus 2 is just negative 1. X to the negative 1 power. If you do it like this, that's up on the top. X to the negative 1 power. How could I write that so it's not a negative exponent? Put it on the bottom. Bring it down 1 over 4 to the x power. What about right here, the y's? Are we good with there only being y to the 4th? There's no other y's anywhere? So they're just going to stay right where they were, y to the 4th power. So now, number 10, let's do that one the same way. So Jada, what's one thing that you could simplify on number 10? You need one? So what do you think, Jada? What's one thing we could simplify on this one? I think hold it down. And is it on the top or the bottom? Perfect. So again, those of you that were in the back, Jada says 4 and 2 simplify, gives us just 2. And that 2 is on the top because there was the 4, which was bigger on top to begin with. So far, so good. Haley, what's something else we can simplify here? Good morning, Gabe. Welcome, Gabe. Yeah. So right here, x squared over x to the 4th can make that x to the negative 2 power. So if I want to write that without it being negative, do I put it on the top or the bottom, everybody?
Bottom.
On the bottom, x squared. And then what do we do with the y's? Let's get somebody else here. Christian, what can I do with the y's? Or do I need to do anything with them?
Put them on bottom.
Yep, they're already on the bottom. They're not negative, no issues. That y to the fourth is just going to stay right there. So lining stuff up a little bit better, I could write this 2 over x squared y to the fourth, and I'd be done. So now let's go. What do you need?
I was gonna see if you could do number 6.
So number 6, I'll put it up here.
So like that's
Why did you put the right one on the bottom of this column in?
Because it was already on the bottom to begin with, so we don't move it. Oh, right there. Yep. So number 6, just a reminder from yesterday, this negative 4 goes to the 3 to the negative 4th power. You can think of it as being 3 to the 1st power right now. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. The x's, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Both of those are negative, so I would put them on the bottom, make it 3 to the 4th, x to the 8th, all underneath the 1 right there. 1 over 3 to the 4th, x to the 8th. And that would be my answer. So again, those negatives are essentially going to flip our fractions upside down. So let's look at number 12 now. Number 12 is going to be real similar, except we've got some negatives here. If I want to fix that, if I want to start off by getting rid of those negatives, I could just switch them right now. And anybody else that was gone yesterday, I did record yesterday's lesson. I'll put it up. I just didn't get a chance to add it yesterday. So, everyone, if you want to make this simpler, at the very beginning, take those negative exponents and put them on the other side. So the x to the fourth is already positive. It stays where it is. The 4 is fine. The x squared is fine. But the y to the first power right here, y to the negative 1 power, I'm going to put that one on the bottom and make it positive. And this one was already on the bottom. I'm going to move it up to the top and make it positive. Does that make sense to everybody?
sure.
I can clean it up a little bit by getting rid of those negatives, by switching where they go. And then I can do what we've been doing already. I can subtract if I want to. So 4 minus 2, right? X to the 4 minus 2 would be x squared. Y to the 4 minus 1 would be y cubed over, looks like just 4. Now, an alternate way to do this. If you're still struggling with what exactly is going on here, let's write this out. This x to the 4th means that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 x's on top, and y to the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4 y's on top. On the bottom we have a 4 and 2 x's and 1 y. If you want to write it out like this so that you can see, oh, I can cross off one set of x's, another set of x's, and one set of y's, I'm left with 1, 2, x squared, and 1, 2, 3, y to the 3rd over 4. Same answer we got the other way. It doesn't, but it's doing the same thing. Just requires a whole lot more writing. So, we had said I wanted you guys to try 13 and 14. If I call on you and you haven't done it yet, we'll work it out together. That's fine. Let's go through, though. So to start number 13 off, Jeremiah, what would you do first to start off number 13? Do you see any negative exponents? So what can we do with that negative exponent to make it easier? Yeah, so let's start there. Let's take this m to the 3rd and put it down on the bottom. Carson, are there any other negative exponents? What do you think? If you're looking just right here, we took off the m to the negative 3rd power. Are any of the other ones negative exponents? No. So we're good. We can just rewrite all these. N squared, p to the fourth, 3m. So now there's no more negative exponents. Now, Alina, I know you weren't here yesterday, but I bet you could do this next part. Do we have any variables that are the same on the top and the bottom? Like, there's an n on the top. Is there an n on the bottom? All right, same thing with the p's. And the m's, we have multiple m's, but they're all on the bottom, right? So we're actually not going to subtract anything. We're not going to cancel anything out here. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So the only thing I can do now is combine the m's. How do I put these two together? So that's what it would be if it was just one m times another m. Yes. Sorry, it took me a second because you included the 3 in there. But that's right. So what Isaiah said here is if we have 3 m, essentially 1, 2, 3, 4 m's, we're going to make it 3m to the fourth on the bottom. If you want to put a little 1 there for that m, go for it. The top, n squared, p to the fourth, all stays right where it was. And we're done with that one. 14. Let's do the same thing. 14 is real similar. Anakin, do you see any negative exponents on number 14?
Yes.
What can we do with one of them? Okay, so which one do you want to bring down? All right, so that p can come down. It's going to be p to the first power down here. Positive, now it's on the bottom. Let's get another one. Caitlin, do you see any more negative ones?
The negative 2.
Okay, so that's for the m, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do I do with that m to the negative 2?
Put it on the bottom.
Yep. So m squared, that one goes on the bottom. Isaiah, any other negatives? Negative exponents besides the m and the p? All right, so I'm going to put the rest of it in here. 2q to the third, and then we had the m and q that was already down there. Does that make sense to everybody? So now I can... The q? It's supposed to be a q. So at this point, Ayana, do you see any duplicated variables? Any variables that we have both, like 2 of? Okay. And are they on the same side of the fraction or on opposite sides? So like, are they both on the top, both on the bottom, or do I have one on the top and one on the bottom? Okay, and what do we do with that if they're one on top, one on bottom? Okay. Because were you gone yesterday? Yeah. So if I have one on the top and one on the bottom, I can subtract their exponents. Essentially make it q to the 3 minus the 1 that was down there. And you can't see that. There we go. So Ayana, what's 3 minus 1? Yeah, and so we're going to have q squared on top now. And no q's on the bottom. Olivia's not here. Joelle, do you see any other variables that we have 2 of? Yep. Are they on the same side of the fraction or the opposites? Okay, so what do we do with those two? We've got m squared and m. Okay, and what does that make? Yeah, m to the third power. Are we starting to get this? M to the third power. We've already done, so we've done the m's, we've done the q's. Looks like we have a 2 on the top. Doesn't simplify with anything. We've got a p on the bottom. Doesn't simplify with anything. There's our answer. 2q squared, pm to the third power. Technically, this should be in alphabetical order. I could switch that m and the p, but that's one that's not going to cause too many problems if you leave them out of order. All right, so number 15. 15 and 16 are the same things. They're just getting more pieces, more variables, but it's the same idea. So let's start with getting rid of those negative exponents. Alondra, do you see a negative exponent? Which one do you see? Okay, you want to do the x's or the y's?
The X's.
All right, what do we do with that one?
We put them on the bottom.
Yep. Are they still negative?
Not as many.
All right, so we're going to take these, put it on the bottom. Let's see here. Parmjot, do you see any other negative exponents? And so what do we do with it? And where do we put it? Does it go on the top or the bottom now? The bottom. So we're going to take that y to the negative fourth, put it on the bottom too. Those are our only negative exponents, so let's write out what's left over. We've got a z squared that's still on top, and then we had this 2y x to the fourth z to the fourth that was already down there. So now, goal is to combine or cancel out any variables that we can find that are duplicated. So Alina, do you see any variables that we have two of the same variable?
The X's and the Z. Oh, wait,
Yeah, x's and z's is perfect. Which one do you want to take care of, the x's or the z's?
The X.
Okay, so are the x's on the same side of the fraction or opposite sides? Okay, so what do we do with those two?
Combine.
Yeah, and so if I have x to the fourth and another x to the fourth, what does that make?
X to 8.
You're right. So, and again, those of you that were gone yesterday, you missed some of the review on exponent rules, but it should have been review. A lot of you have seen it before. X to the fourth makes x to the eighth. Is exactly right, Alina. Anakin, do you see any other variables that we have doubles of? Okay, so we've got y to the fourth and y here. How can we put those together? Or what does that make? So that would just be this one. That's like ignoring this one over here. But this one counts. We still want to do something with it. And if it helps, think of it as y to the first power. So what would that make? Does that make sense that we add those exponents? 4 and 1 makes 5. So y to the fifth power is right. All right, Ayana, do you see any other duplicated variables?
Yeah,
Z, so we've got z on the top and z on the bottom. So does it make sense that we can cancel those out then? Or subtract it? No? So this is where you can either think of it as 1, 2 z's on the top and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom, and say, okay, I can cancel out 2 of them, leaving me with 2 z's on the bottom. Does that idea make sense, Anna? Or the other way we talked about it yesterday is doing z squared minus the 1 on the bottom. Z squared minus 4, 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. And that negative 2 means it's going to go down to the bottom to become positive. Does that make sense? You can do it either way. Again, the subtraction is going to be much nicer when you've got a whole bunch of them. If you've got z to the 20th over z to the 13th, you don't really want to write out 20 z's. Does that make sense? But being able to subtract it is going to save us some time. So we've dealt with the y's, dealt with the x's and the z's. So everybody see that we've just got this 2 on the bottom?
You just move that up, right?
Well, it's on the bottom. There's no reason for us to move it up.
Put them both up on the top. Oh, well,
It's not a negative or anything, not a negative exponent, so we're going to leave it there.
oh.
What do I put on the top if there's nothing there? A 1. Does that make sense to everybody? We need to have that 1 up there on the top. There's our final answer. All right, number 16. Same idea. So number 16, let's do this one real fast. X's, move the x's up to the top. 4x cubed plus the x squared, or times the x squared that was already on the bottom, but we made it positive to move it up. Then we leave the y cubed, z cubed, all over y cubed. X's, 3 and 2 makes how many there? Jeremiah, how many x's am I going to have? If I have x cubed times x squared, how many is that total? So, and this is for everybody, are we good with just adding those exponents? If they're multiplied together, we're going to add those. So Jeremiah, go ahead and just do 3 plus 2. What would that be? Okay, I couldn't hear you. Sorry, thanks. So 3 plus 2 makes 5. 4x to the 5th. Z's, that's the only z. Z to the 3rd. But everybody look at the y's. Y to the 3 minus 3.
0.
0. And we talked that there's a special rule about something to the 0 power. It's just 1. It disappears for multiplication. Does that make sense? It's not a 0, but it's just a 1. So here, if I multiply this whole top part times 1, that really doesn't do anything. The y's are gone. But there's also nothing on the bottom. You can put it over 1 or not. But this is our answer. You could just leave it as 4x to the 5th, z to the 3rd, and be done. We've got one last thing to do now. Put it all together. All the different rules that we've been using. Negatives, exponents of exponents. So first, everybody's full attention here because this is a little bit different. Right here, on number 17, when you see this piece right here, the parentheses raised to a power, deal with that one first. Raise all the powers inside to that power, which means multiplying them. So 2 times negative 3 is going to be x to the negative 6th. 3 times negative 3 is going to be y to the negative 9th. We still have an x to the 3rd, y negative 2, y x to the negative 3rd. And then, oops, I didn't write the negative on that one. Everybody make sure you put that negative on there. X to the negative 3rd, y to the negative 2, y x to the negative 3rd. And on the bottom, x to the 3rd, y to the negative 2. This one looks crazy. It's got stuff everywhere, but it's the same rules, the same steps. So take all the negative ones and switch them. Put them on the other side of the fraction. If they're on the top, move them to the bottom. If they're on the bottom, move them to the top. So that means this x cubed comes down here. This y squared down here. This y stays up here. This x goes to the bottom. This one, x to the negative 6th, moves up. Y to the negative 9th moves up. This x cubed stays down there. This y to the negative 2 moves up. This looks ridiculously messy right now. But is everybody following what we're doing? Just switching sides, up or down, based off of if it was negative. Any negative ones, switch sides. Any positive ones, stay where they were. Now, let's start with getting all the ones on the top combined and all the ones on the bottom combined. So I see 1, 9, and 2. How many total y's do I have on the top? 12. Does that make sense to everybody? 1, 9, 2 makes 12 y's on the top. And then I just have that x to the 6th on the top. Nothing to combine with that one. On the bottom, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 x's. X to the 9th power, and then y squared. This is looking nicer and nicer. Let's look at the x's now. Carson, if I have x to the 6th and x to the 9th, when I cancel those out, how many are going to be left over? Or if I do subtraction, what am I going to get? 3 is perfect. Now, actually, I'm going to get somebody else to answer this. So, Carson says we've got x to the 3rd power. Caitlin, is that going to go on the top or the bottom?
The bottom.
Right. X to the 3rd. You can get that one of 2 ways. You can either do 6 minus 9 is negative 3, and that negative moves it to the bottom. Or you can write out 6 on the top, 9 on the bottom, cross them out, 3 left on the bottom. How about the y's? Not here today. Christian, what can we do with the y's? So right now they're all positive. I have 12 on the top, 2 on the bottom. When I cancel those out, how many are going to be left? Try again. 12 minus 2, 10. And is that 10, why do the 10th going to go on the top or the bottom? So it's going to be top. And again, it's going to be top because there was more on the top to begin with. And because 12 minus 2 gets us positive 10, not negative 10. Does that make sense? So we end up with y to the 10th power right there. Yeah. So go ahead, and I made this announcement yesterday, but there were several people absent. Because of one of my other classes where I had some students that were literally gone for like an hour over the course of the week for the bathroom, we're having to sign out now. So just, again, put your name, date, time out, time in, that'll pass. I was hoping we wouldn't have to do that this year, but we can't have nice things. So, again, yeah, you check, use your phone, check with somebody else.
Sorry, I'm like, don't I can't.
That's okay. You can always ask. I can tell you what time it is.
No, I'm not gonna leave tomorrow. Bro, I'm starving.
Okay, this one. Stay with me, guys. Let's do 18, and then we'll call it good. Okay, with this worksheet. 19 and 20 is more of the same. I'll point out one or two things on them. But let's finish number 18 real quick, and then we'll call it good here. This one has two sets of parentheses. Do the inside one first. So this guy down here is going to become a squared. And then b to the fourth raised to the second power is b to the eighth power. Okay, so a, 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. We still have a to the fourth, b to the negative 3, and b to the positive 3, all to the fourth power.
So why don't you just like, why would we put the negative up on the top? Why can't we just put everything on the bottom?
We could. We could move that down to the bottom if you wanted to. You could do that right now, or, so you guys, there's multiple ways to solve these. You could move this b down to the bottom and combine it with this one. Or you can combine these two and do negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Whichever one you want to do. You'll get the same answer. So let's go ahead and clean this up either way. As long as everything in here is being cleaned up, we can wait to apply this 4. Or you could apply the 4 to everything inside right now. Either way is fine. It's probably going to be faster to clean up the inside first and then apply that 4. So let's see. B to the negative 3 and b to the third. I'm going to go ahead and put those together right now. No, or do most of you want to move the b to the negative third down? Either way works. Let's go ahead and do this. What's negative 3 plus 3? 0. And what's b to the 0 power? Okay, everybody, I want to hear you say it. b to the 0 power is 1. I was better. That is something that comes up a lot in Math 3, especially at the beginning, and it's something that students struggle with all the time. We need to remember that anything to the 0 power is 1. So this actually just straight up cancels out. It's gone. Because anything to the 0 power is 1. And now here, a to the fourth, a squared. Can I cancel those out? How many a's are left over and where are they? 2 on the top or the bottom. A squared over b to the 8th raised to the 4th power. So again, we canceled those out, left with just a squared. So now, raise everything to the 4th power. Yep, 2 times 4 is a to the 8th. 8 times 4. Yep, 32. All right, I think we're good. I'll collect those, and then I'll give you what we're working on next. It's something related, not quite the same.
I don't like the word. How many questions?
The next one is fewer. We might skip a few of them. We'll see how it goes.
What the hell, you guys? Hey, stop. Well, let me know if you guys are like, oh, I can't. see a calculator.
Sign up for the S.
Bro, he makes the best coffee. When you would have been
He makes questions.
my brother.
Why are you talking about your brother right now?
Your brother. Wait, so you tell me your brother went to bed and went behind the counter to make a cup of coffee?
You ain't ever gonna do it.
Have you ever made a coffee? Yes.
Yo, thank
So now
She done almost. I'll let her give that to me.
This is my life.
it's gonna be like a treat. You have to make you. Or you still make it.
I should have gone the day.
You talk confidently to me. I'm not alone as you're in.
I was scared.
Top down. Or she couldn't walk that one night. We couldn't work on it.
Hey, yo, listen to me. I dropped my pencil. Thank you.
He said no.
No, I didn't ask.
Yeah.
I was scared. I was nervous.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I had to.
Oh, this is just 14 then.
It is more of what we were doing, but there's one new thing that we're gonna learn. That's actually just combining some of the stuff we did before.
Wait, so it's very little questions, but a lot more work. That's
That's acceptable. It's not for everybody.
Wait till she's 18, then there ain't no reason for a crime. Sorry.
Hey, I never got one.
Hey, I ain't wrong. I ain't wrong. We
You can take it out this way.
Alright. Where are we going?
I'm coming to do it.
we'll go to Denny's.
She wants my brother's coffee. It was fun. It was really, really good.